I noticed that I was being followed by like a truck with like 3 dudes in it, and that truck pulled up right next to me in the mall parking lot, and the dudes just stared at me for a little while. And then what's crazy is they started to get out of the truck and come towards my van. And so I'm just sitting there in the back of my van waiting for my diesel heater to start up, and I just put the pizza in the oven. I get this crazy loud aggressive bang on my slider door. Well, hello again, guys. You'll never guess where I am. Back at the old Page Walmart, unfortunately. But, I mean, I love this Walmart, as you guys know if you've been following along with the channel for a while. But, obviously, this isn't ideal. Probably not even for the YouTube channel. I've made so many episodes in this Walmart, but I had to leave the forest, unfortunately, and currently in the process of making a video about that. And hopefully that video ends someplace way better than here. But I'm gonna spend the night here. And the cool thing about this Walmart in Page, Arizona, which is why it's my favorite Walmart, is there's a trail behind it that leads to some amazing, beautiful desert landscape. And the last time that I was here, we were kind of stuck here because there were issues with the van, and we were stuck here for a while. But on the last day, we went on a hike, and we weren't able to finish it, but I'm pretty sure that right behind this Walmart, there's a trail that leads to an epic view of the Colorado River. And so this evening, I'm gonna take you guys along on my beautiful evening Walmart walk, and we're gonna go see if we can't find that beautiful scenic view of the Colorado River. This already looks pretty sweet, dude. Right up there is the Colorado River, I'm pretty sure. And it is very windy, and it's only supposed to get worse, like crazy winds, like 40-mile-an-hour winds is what's supposed to happen. So I suppose this walk will be a good test of how good these microphones are that I've been using in the last couple of videos. So I did get some good feedback on that walk and talk that I did a couple episodes ago, and I've gotten a lot of compliments from people on how confident I look and how it looks like it's super easy for me to talk into the camera on these videos. But I'm going to be super real with you guys. It's not. Talking is not my favorite thing to do, but here we are and here we go. So bear with me. If you're here for the regular truck camper, off-road, camp and cook, out in nature adventures, then this video probably isn't for you. I figured in this video, based off of a lot of the comments and things like that, I would just go over the concerns that some people might have if you're thinking about living this lifestyle. Even just a couple days ago, actually, a good friend of mine, he was living with his partner in a pull behind RV, and they broke up Must be the season, I suppose, but it was her RV. So now he is living out of his car, doing DoorDash. He'll be fine. He's got a seasonal job lined up. He's just got like 2 or 3 weeks he's got to push through until that seasonal job starts. But you know, he called me because he's never done like the whole stealth camping thing or finding BLM spots. Obviously he's got concerns about like getting the knock or where he's allowed to park and whatnot. And I know that a lot of other people that have considered this lifestyle have questions and concerns, and if you have any of those, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. I might be able to address some of those issues in a future video. But I suppose all I'm going to talk about today is a couple of the scariest things that have happened to me while living on the road in both my vans that I lived in and also in my truck camper. And then I suppose also I'll tell you about a couple times that I got the knock and what I've learned from some of those experiences and how they've affected me, I suppose, really. Again, it's crazy windy. These walk and talk videos, I don't really aren't really going to be super edited anyway, but I suppose when I get back to the truck camper, if all the audio is just absolutely horrible, then we'll scratch this one. I suppose I'll start with like the scariest things that have happened to me while living on the road. Truth be told, I really haven't had a whole lot of situations while living on the road where I've actually been super scared, but there are two that I will most definitely never forget. And one of them I actually do have a video about, and that was probably the most nerve-wracking for sure. And that was when I drove the truck camper up to the trailhead of Mount Holly in Fish Lake National Forest in Utah. That's a pretty long drive up like some pretty long mountain back roads. And I mean, you're going straight up pretty much. You get up to about like 10,000 feet in elevation. And it's a beautiful drive. I would definitely recommend that entire area to anyone. I mean, it's amazing. I got all the way up to that 10,000 feet of elevation up to the trailhead. And my brake light came on, dude. I lost the brakes for like a split second. So there was a spot. It wasn't the ideal spot that I wanted, but there was a spot right there next to the trailhead. So as soon as that all happened, I immediately just pulled into the spot and I got out. I popped the hood and I checked the brake fluid and it was pretty much empty. I've kind of ducked behind like some rocks here because the wind is so bad and I don't want the audio to suck. But anyway, so like I pulled into that spot, I checked the brake fluid was like pretty much empty. So I got out, looked under the truck, and I did see a leak, but I could not tell exactly where it was coming from. I didn't really know exactly what to do. I figured that's no big deal. I always carry brake fluid with me. In fact, just a couple months ago, I had purchased like a brand new thing of brake fluid. The thing that's crazy though is I searched everywhere. I searched everywhere in that truck and I could not find the brake fluid. So I have no idea where it went. I still have never found it to this day. So I'm at 10,000 feet elevation in kind of the middle of nowhere. And the only way to get out of there is to go straight down. You have to go down 10,000 feet. And I had no brakes. I decided to hike Mount Holly the next day. I was going to film a video anyway. And obviously I had a couple days to figure this out. So I went and hiked Mount Holly. And then when I got done hiking Mount Holly, which was like a pretty long hike, immediately though I knew I needed to deal with the situation, and it was 4th of July weekend, so there was a lot of other campers around. I mean, not like super close, but you know, within like a mile apart. And so when I got done with that hike, I walked to each one of those campsites, and I did go walk miles in every direction and talk to every single person that was in the area and asked if they had brake fluid, and nobody did. And luckily though, one dude that I talked to, he was out camping with his family, and he gave me a really good suggestion. He said to just take it down the whole mountain pass super slow in 4 low and in first gear at the same time. And so that's what I did, and surprisingly it was actually pretty smooth. Obviously nerve-wracking the entire time, so that was definitely a situation where I felt very on edge. When you're going down like some crazy steep grades and you have to keep going slow and you can't use the brakes, that was just a crazy situation that I've never been in, and that was definitely one of the scariest times in this truck camper. I learned a lot about how to operate my truck better, and now when I go up and down mountain passes or even in the back roads up steep grades, I just know how to drive the truck a lot better. And obviously there was a lot of thoughts about like life and my own life and things like that on the way down. If you want to check that video out, I think literally, I don't remember what the video is called, but like the thumbnail says like no brakes on it, and that was definitely quite an adventure. Right from behind Walmart, dude. This looks like another good little hidey hole to hang out and talk in. I suppose the other time that I felt super nervous, possibly scared, while living in a vehicle was when I was living in my first van. I was actually living in that van in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I was door dashing. I had a delivery, I had food in the car, and it was going into like a neighborhood, and I'd actually delivered to this person several times before. I did a ton of door dashing in Nebraska, but I noticed that I was being followed by like a truck with like 3 dudes in it. I just kind of noticed that they were taking all the same turns as me and whatnot. So when I got into the neighborhood, I knew where the house was that I was going to deliver the food to. Like I said, I delivered there before. But when I got into the neighborhood, I started taking a couple little odd turns just to confirm what was going on. And sure enough, that truck was following me. I took a couple little oddball turns. I'm in a Sprinter van that's built out, so it's not like I can go crazy fast or anything, but I did kind of lose them. And so I was like, cool. I got to the house, dropped off the delivery. This was, it was a leave at the door, and then I figured I'm probably good to go. But as I was pulling out of the neighborhood, they were waiting for me. Almost like they knew that I had to go out that way, and then they continued to follow me. So I try not to be crazy paranoid with stuff like this, so I just wanted to be sure, so I continued to kind of drive around the area taking random oddball turns, and sure enough, they kept taking every turn and following me, and then they started following me much closer. And when that started happening, I did kind of become a little bit concerned. So what I did in that situation is I drove to the mall. I drove to the mall parking lot, which is a very big public place, and I parked right in the dead center, surrounded by all kinds of people. And then I called the police, and I just told them what happened. And literally like 2 minutes later, the police showed up. I stayed in the van, and that truck pulled up right next to me in the mall parking lot, and the dudes just stared at me for a little while. And then what's crazy is they started to get out of the truck and come towards my van. While they're coming towards the van, I'm on the phone with the police, and but I'm also ready to like just drive away. But the way that they had like parked their truck was almost like they were gonna like box me in. They did leave one dude in the truck, so it seemed like he was ready to, like, I don't know, follow me again, box me in. I don't really know I really honestly don't know what their game plan was. 2 vehicles in the middle of like a pretty populated town. Honestly, in my mind, even though I was concerned, I was like, there's not really much that can happen with this sort of a situation. But yeah, anyway, a ton of police showed up. As soon as they all pulled in, which was very quick, it was like 2 minutes, they all showed up in the mall parking lot, and those dudes ran into the truck and took off into a neighborhood right behind the mall. And the police immediately started chasing after them. The truck didn't have any license plates, so that was kind of a bummer. Didn't really have a way to like tell the police any of that information. But I think in the future, if something like that were to ever happen again, I would probably drive just directly to a police station. It's just that like in that particular area of town in Lincoln, the police station was pretty far away. In that moment, the decision I made was just to go to the mall. But I suppose those are like the two instances where like I've actually been kind of nervous while living in like a vehicle. And again, both times I made it out. I'm still alive to tell the tale. Look at that view, dude. Crazy cool. I suppose like some other instances that have happened would be like a couple of the times where I've gotten the knock. I know that that's something that a lot of people worry about, and if you've been following along with the channel for a while, you know that my feelings now on stealth parking is that stealth is pretty pointless. And if anything, you really want to make it look like someone might possibly be in your rig to prevent any sort of issues. But I also made a video about that. I think that's like right before the brakes one. Yeah, because it actually is before the brakes one, because I talked about that while I was hiking up Mount Holly. So anyway, the first time that I ever got the knock per se, it wasn't exactly a knock, but it was during the pandemic, and I was still living in Lincoln, Nebraska. And the way that I had it all mapped out in Nebraska is I would go DoorDash every day, and then I had several different places all around town that I would park, and I made sure that I would never park in the same spot more than just once a week. But it was right when the COVID vaccine had come out, and so I went and got the COVID vaccine because, you know, I was door dashing and I didn't want to make people sick or whatever. I went and got the shot, and I felt horrible, dude, like really bad. And again, I was living in a van. So after I got that shot, I just kind of decided like for the night that I would really like a peaceful place to sleep where it wasn't going to be noisy or anything like that. One of my favorite peaceful spots to stay in Lincoln, Nebraska was at this apartment complex. It was super sweet in the back. I could just park in the parking lot, back right in, and it was always super quiet and peaceful and no one would bother me. The only issue was that I had stayed there the night before. And so even though I had stayed at that spot the night before, I felt horrible, and I really wanted a peaceful place to sleep with no noise so that I could just get some rest since I felt very ill. And so I broke my own rule and I stayed at that spot for a second night in a row. So I had an amazing sleep that night at that spot, and I woke up feeling pretty good, but I woke up super early to the sound of a super loud subwoofer like rattling my van, like someone had parked like right next to me. And if you've watched the channel for a while, I'm sure you've heard me mention before that I'm not really a super early morning person, especially at that time, because like I was doing DoorDash, dude. So like that's a night shift type of job. It wouldn't stop, the subwoofer. It just kept getting louder and louder. So finally I woke up and I pulled back my blackout curtain, and there was a dude parked next to me, just sitting in his truck, blasting some heavy bass music. And then there was also a truck parked directly in front of me, like literally right in front of me, that was boxing me in. And there was another dude waiting in the truck there. And there were several maintenance people like standing all around my van. So I had just woken up, but it didn't take me very long to piece together that like they knew I was sleeping in there, and they were using the subwoofer to wake me up, and they had something to say for sure, since they were all waiting for me to wake up. So I mean, dude, at that point, like, I was pretty caught. I was trapped. There was not really anything I could do except for face the music. So I just walked up to the front of the van, to the driver's seat, and put the keys in the ignition, and one of them walked up to my window and knocked on it, and I rolled the window down, and he just looked at me and he said, "You can't sleep here, dude." So all I did was like smile, and I looked at him and just said, "Okay." And that was it, dude. It was crazy. It was so much drama. Like, it was so dramatic. Like, the 5 to 7 dudes, the extra truck boxing me in, all waiting around, wanting to like wake me up. And then all he said was like, "You can't sleep here." And I was like, "Okay." And then that was it. The truck, he motioned, you know, at the truck dude, like, that it's good to go. So the truck moved out of my way, and I started up the van and I left. And that was it. And I mean, obviously, dude, that was my fault. I broke my own rule. I decided to stay twice in the same spot in town. And I mean, my van was like kind of stealth, but really these days, anytime there's a Sprinter van with like a solar panel on it and a fan, like I said, stealth really doesn't mean anything. And so they knew I was staying there, and they probably knew that I was staying there. You know, the several other times that I had stayed in that parking lot, they probably knew. But I'm assuming that like once it became 2 nights in a row, they were probably weary of like a homeless person setting up shop in their parking lot, you know. That makes sense to me. I don't know, they were super nice about it, minus the super aggressive morning wake up, but that's the first time I've ever gotten the knock per se. Look at that, dude. Amazing. It's a little windy to be standing so close to this cliff. Man, this wind is insane. The other time that I got the knock, and I mean, dude, this was definitely a very loud, aggressive knock. I was staying in Portland, Oregon in my second van. One of my best friends, he owns a bar down there, and I have a ton of friends that moved from Phoenix to that area. And so I spent a lot of time there, just because it was really good to see my friends. I hadn't seen them in a very long time, and it was pretty much like public free street parking all throughout those neighborhoods, and you're in like an urban downtown area. The hardest part about that neighborhood is, I mean, it was like a downtown urban neighborhood area. So the hardest part was finding parking, because it's a very populated city area, and so parking was always full. So many people were trying to find places to park to go to, like my friend's bar, the restaurants around town. Other than that, dude, I had a blast in Portland, just hanging out with my friends, staying around town. I stayed there for probably like a month and a half, just stealth parking, if you will, you know, on city streets throughout that neighborhood. I guess on a side note, there was one time in that neighborhood where I woke up, I don't remember, maybe 1, 2 in the morning, to the van there was a van parked in front of me as well, but there was nobody in there that night, but they were parked in front of me. And I did wake up at like 1 in the morning to someone smashing in the window of that van, probably to steal things from it, I'm not sure. So I suppose that was kind of an event. They left my van alone. I'm assuming they went for the other van and left my van alone because it probably looked like someone was living in my van, which I was. It also could be because I had like night vision security cameras on my van that I used every night, definitely in Portland as well. But anyway, that's just a side note. My typical day in Portland was pretty simple. When I was there for that month and a half, I would wake up every day and go to the gym, and then there was a grocery store right next to the gym, so I would pick up food for the night, and then I would drive back to that neighborhood where my friend's bar was. And I mean, at the time, I didn't have Starlink. Starlink had just kind of come out, and it was super expensive. So I would go to the gym and then go to the grocery store, and then I would go back to that neighborhood where my friend's bar was, and then I would walk over to his bar, and I would use the Wi-Fi, maybe grab a beer. But I was really working hard at starting my online like Etsy print on demand business. And so that's pretty much what I did for like a month and a half when I was out there in Portland. But yeah, I just drove back into the neighborhood near my buddy's bar and found a parking spot for the night. And I was just making a frozen pizza in my van. And I had a diesel heater in that van as well. And it was like late fall, so it was starting to get kind of cold. The thing is I had like AGM batteries in that van. I couldn't afford lithium. When a diesel heater starts up, it pulls a lot of power to start up right away, like with the glow plugs and whatever. And so I had a DC to DC charger. Whenever I would start up the diesel heater, I would just turn my van on really quick so that the alternator would run and supply a higher voltage to the batteries so that the voltage wouldn't get too low and the diesel heater would start right up without any error codes. But yeah, I just drove back into the neighborhood near my buddy's bar and found a parking spot for the night. So I parked at the spot and I just left the van running for like 5 minutes and turned the diesel heater on. And then, I started up my oven, popped the pizza in the oven, and it was gearing up to be a pretty good night, dude. And so I'm just sitting there in the back of my van waiting for my diesel heater to start up. And I just put the pizza in the oven. I get this crazy loud, aggressive bang on my slider door. I pulled down the blackout curtain and I saw this man standing there who looked very angry. So I opened the sliding door and I didn't even have a chance to say anything. He immediately just started yelling at me. The first thing out of his mouth was, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was basically like, so you're just gonna sit there and let all the diesel fumes idle into the air? And I mean, this dude was like not nice at all. Didn't even like say hello. No, like, sorry to bother you. Obviously banged on my van like super hard and loud. So my defenses were like immediately up in this situation, and I definitely was not really scared at all. He started yelling at me about how like the van is noisy and I'm putting diesel fumes into the air and like all this stuff. But like the thing is like the van had only been on since I parked there for like maybe 3 minutes. I mean, I just left it on to start the diesel heater, and then obviously I was going to turn the van off. So I hadn't been there for very long, like literally less than 5 minutes. The other thing is I was parked on a public street. I mean, like a road where like cars drive on and park and stuff like that. So I just kind of looked at the dude and I told him like, hey, I'm about to shut the van off. So, but that wasn't enough for him. He just continued to yell at me and he was super angry. Obviously he lived nearby or something and was probably tired of van lifers parking in that area, which really there weren't a lot. Well, the whole time I was there, I maybe saw like 2 or 3, but like he was clearly just frustrated at more than just me and he was going to take it out on me. But I just kind of looked at the dude and I kind of just flat out ended the conversation by looking him right in the eye and saying, what are you gonna do, man? Are you gonna like call the police and report that there's a running vehicle on a public street? Like, what are you going to do? And then I explained to him in the nicest way I possibly could, but I explained to him that if things had been a little bit different, if he hadn't aggressively banged on my door, if he wasn't screaming at me, being somewhat rude, if his demeanor had been a little bit calmer, maybe a little bit nicer, maybe with an obvious goal of like peace and maybe trying to like work something out as opposed to just attacking me, that I would be a little bit different. I would be a little bit more apologetic. I might even move, but like in this situation, I pretty much clearly explained to him that there's not really much he could do. And so he was still very mad, but he just like kind of walked away with his tail between his legs. And I suppose I won that one, but I still moved like 2 blocks down the road after that, dude. I didn't want any trouble, and I assumed that maybe he probably would call the police and say something. So, but yeah, either way, that was the second time that I got the knock. Beautiful. So, I mean, really, what is my takeaway from all those experiences? Not much. I think the biggest thing that those experiences taught me is it's not really always as bad as you think it might be. In every single one of those instances, everything ended up okay. And really, living this lifestyle, I guess maybe you're kind of prone to more bad things happening. But in all reality, like if I lived in a house, and I have lived in houses, I've lived in apartments and houses, and I've had multiple other worse things than that happen to me. But I suppose, like, even if you're just living in a house, a lot of bad things can happen as well. And in fact, I've lived in a house, I've lived in apartments as well, and I've had way worse things happen to me. I had someone jump me and like beat me up and steal my bike. That was living in an apartment or a house at the time. And I've had a lot worse things happen to me while living in a house. It's always entertaining for sure. That's one thing I love about living this lifestyle, is that you're always on the move, you're always in new places. And so life is never boring. And as you move around, you do put yourself into new environments where you probably do invite things around you to happen. But in all reality, it's just not something that I worry about. And I think when things do happen, it might be kind of a rite of passage, really. Obviously, a couple of those scenarios were my fault. A lot of people in houses and apartments do everything they can to prevent bad things from happening to them, and bad things still happen either way. So having had some of those things happen to me, though, I can tell you that I'm a lot less afraid of getting the knock, especially. I really don't care anymore. I do the best that I can wherever I stay, not to draw too much attention. But I also know, like as in the Portland example, that if someone wants to knock, they're gonna knock. It's usually not gonna be a police officer. It's usually gonna be someone that's paid to look out for the particular area, whether that be like a groundskeeper or a security guard or something like that, or it could just be a disgruntled resident. But now, looking back on this entire conversation that we've just had, I don't know if this is going to offer any reassurance to anyone or anything at all, really, but these are just a couple stories and experiences of what has happened to me. I still don't regret living this way whatsoever. And I'm really not afraid of instances like that. But I will say all of these things happened in cities, which is why I try as hard as I can to avoid cities. I don't know that I'm like scared, but like one of the things that I recognize will probably be the way that I die, honestly, is I'll be out in the middle of nowhere and something will happen to me out there. I did just get a comment from like that last snow video. Someone commented, and thank you very much for looking out, but I was on the roof and the comment was like, be careful on that roof, dude, because those roofs are very slippery, and they are. And I have slipped on that roof so many times. And so I think really that's probably more or less the thing that I'm super aware of and nervous about all the time. And you've heard me talk about those type of scenarios in my videos. And the only thing that was going through my head when I was up on that roof removing the snow off of my solar panels, the whole time, all that was going through my head was don't fall. I was watching every step that I took. I was second stepping, you know, just to make sure that like it was solid, that I wouldn't slip, make sure I had traction. But I've never gotten a knock in my truck camper, and I'm sure that I will at some point. When it comes to things like that, I usually just try to park in places that I know I'm allowed to park. And I try not to draw any attention. I'm not out there setting up lawn chairs or anything like that. So I suppose that would be the only advice I would give there is like, park where you need to park for the night, dude. Like if you have to stay in a city, stay in a city. Just open up by Overlander. Look for places that have been confirmed that you're allowed to park for a night or two. You know, don't stay in the same place twice unless like you absolutely have to. But like, if you do and you end up getting a knock, it's not really the end of the world. Most likely they're just going to tell you to leave. Another piece of advice from my own experience, I know some people have different opinions on this, but I personally like to make it look like maybe somebody might be living inside of my rig. Mostly that prevents theft, you know. I've seen theft happen right in front of my van while I was in mine and nothing happened to mine. So making it questionable whether or not somebody actually is inside that rig is also super helpful. So yeah, it's starting to get pretty windy here, dude. And we're gonna head on back to the Walmart. I don't know, I hope that the audio comes through on this. I'm not sure if it will. I do have like the wind guard on here, but I've never recorded a video that involves this much talking with this crazy amount of wind unless I've been like inside my truck camper. So I suppose to wrap this one up, what I will say is like you can never be 100% prepared for anything, dude. Life's just gonna happen. Whether you live in a vehicle, a camper, a Prius, or a house, you can try, and you should try, to be as prepared as you possibly can be, but life is always just going to throw you curveballs. And so I suppose the question, if you're thinking about this lifestyle, I suppose the question you would want to ask yourself is, are you going to let the fear of like the unknown stop you from going out and living the life that you want? And you know, dude, like everybody's different. I know a lot of people that definitely do let the fear stop them from doing the things that they want to do. And I mean, that's okay, to each their own. And it's just always fascinated me, but I also know a lot of people that live in vehicles and they're work campers usually, and they never leave the campground. So they go get jobs at these amazing places, but because they're too afraid to go out and explore the wilderness of all around them, the most amazing, beautiful wilderness that they were so lucky enough to get a job right next to, and they still never leave the campground. Me personally, I don't know, I've just had so many things happen to me over the years that like now I just assume that things are going to happen. I'm kind of an overthinker that way. A lot of people make fun of me for that, but like I think of pretty much every single worst case scenario of what could happen, and I try to prepare for it, and still I'm never prepared. And like I said, and that's what I mean, you can never be 100% prepared. I love my life, dude. I love living this way. I even love parking at Walmarts, especially this Walmart with this amazing view right behind it. This is the most entertaining life that I've ever lived. There's always something going on. You're always seeing amazing, beautiful places. And you can't really have something that good, or anything good for that matter, without the bad. That's just how life is. You can't have the good without the bad. And having the bad makes you appreciate the good even more. So I suppose on that note, thank you for coming along with me on this crazy, windy epic Walmart hike. If you know of any other sweet Walmarts I should hit up for awesome hikes, let me know. If you like this kind of video, let me know. If you don't like this kind of video, let me know as well. I was planning on just throwing these types of walk and talk videos in, just like maybe throughout the middle of the week, just to help people out, really, dude. Sometimes hearing somebody else's experience and perspective helps. If it helps just one person, then this is totally worth it. But if you don't like this type of video, don't unsubscribe or shun the channel. There's definitely more regular truck camper life experiences coming soon. So anyways, I guess that about wraps this one up, guys. Way she goes, I suppose. If you made it this far in the video, then chances are you're probably into this kind of stuff. So make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And keep on living that dream. And if you haven't found that dream yet, don't stop looking for it, because you never know where it might be. You might even find that it's living the bougie life out of a truck camper parked in a Walmart parking lot with some of the best views of the Colorado River that you've ever seen. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.